It was 3:17 a.m. when my phone went off like a Cold War siren, lighting up the whole bedroom and jolting me out of the best sleep I'd had in weeks. That military-grade alarm, the one I was told would only go off for real emergencies, was screaming. I grabbed the phone with my heart in my throat and read the alert: unauthorized movement. Prototype Echo Wolf in transit. At first I thought it had to be a mistake, some kind of bug in the system, but then, through the window, I heard chains rattling and a diesel engine grumbling in the darkness. I bolted out of bed, bare feet pounding the wood, sprinting outside just in time to see my old battered military truck rolling away on the back of a flatbed, taillights vanishing into the black. Now listen, this wasn't just some personal junker I'd let rot in the driveway. That was a live Pentagon project wired up with more defense tech than most people's homes have in total wiring, and those morons had just stolen it right out from under me. I wasn't even mad about the truck. I was mad because my phone was already pinging with red alert satellite tracking going wild, and the government definitely knew. I caught myself muttering, "Karen, you just kicked off a federal incident all because you hate seeing rust on your way to yoga." Let me back up a sec. A few weeks before I'd parked that truck, Echo Wolf, right in my driveway. To most people, it looked like junkyard bait-dented doors, matte black paint with more dust than shine windshield crusted over since December. Underneath, though, was the most advanced AI recon module ever installed in a civilian vehicle. I'd been contracted as a consultant on loan for a hush-hush durability test. My only instructions: don't reveal what it is, don't drive it unless told, don't let anybody near it. Simple, except when you live in a neighborhood ruled by Karen Whitmore. Karen was the queen bee of our HOA mid-50s hair, like yellow straw ironed into place, and a face locked in a permanent scowl. She carried a laminated rule book and wielded it like Moses did stone tablets, convinced it was her God-given duty to keep the community bland and beige. The second she spotted my truck, she about choked on her organic smoothie. Next morning, there was a neon orange violation sticker duct taped to my mailbox. Vehicle does not meet aesthetic standards. I laughed, tore it up, and went about my business. I should have known better. Karen never let things go. That afternoon, she was back recording me on her phone, her little poodle yapping from her arm like a furry air raid siren. She barked that my death trap needed to go. I tried explaining calmly, like you do when you know you're talking to a brick wall, that it was government property. Showed her a letter from my project lead, but she wouldn't even look at it. Just squinted at me and muttered about cosplay military nuts. Next thing I know, yellow caution tapes across my driveway with a note saying hazardous vehicle quarantined by HOA. I caught her spying from behind the neighbor's hedge, snapping photos. When I reported her, guess what? She was the president, and the rest of the board either didn't care or thought it was funny. At a potluck, Todd, one of the board members, leaned over and whispered, "She once tried to fine a guy for hanging a bird feeder. You're in a Cold War now, buddy." That's when I realized this wasn't going to end pretty. So I sent a stern email, CC'd my federal contact, spelling it out. This truck isn't a toy. You touch it, you get national security on your doorstep. My handler, Agent Mendes, called me after reading it. If they so much as tow it, we'll show up with badges and containment units. I said I'd keep watch, but I let my guard down. And then came that night. Barely 2 hours after I crawled into bed, the alarm went off. Karen must have known I'd be asleep. The tow truck had no company logos, definitely not above board. I ran out in shorts and a t-shirt, yelling like a madman, but they were already halfway down the street. Tried to trigger the prototype's emergency lockdown, but I was too late. My screen flashed a skull alert. Defense breach code 9110 AI containment mobilized. That meant SUVs, helicopters, way more trouble than this street had ever seen. I stood there frozen, watching the taillights disappear, realizing Karen hadn't just crossed a line, she detonated it. By 500 a.m., the whole neighborhood was crawling with black SUVs, agents in plain clothes, fanning out asking for footage, pounding on doors. Karen strutted out in her pink robe and slippers, acting like she was out to water the roses. When she saw the agents, she actually smiled until the lead guy flashed his badge, and her face went from smug to panic in 3 seconds flat. They pointed her inside, 2 agents followed, and I just stood there, my phone buzzing again. "Agent Mendes, you need to come. You're the only one who can deactivate it if someone tries to power it up." A black sedan blocked my driveway before I could get in my own car. "Mr. Halverson, you're riding with us." As we drove out, I looked back. Karen was plastered behind the glass doors of the HOA clubhouse, arms crossed, staring daggers as the board's power crumbled before her eyes. The whole thing had spun out of her control, and I almost felt bad for her. Almost. We pulled into the tow yard, and there was Ray, the owner, trembling by the gate, a cigarette shaking in his hand. I didn't know he kept repeating. She paid cash, said it was abandoned. I tried to open the door, but alarms went off, scared the hell out of me. Mindy's cut him off. We did the security checks, and I finally approached the truck, holding out my badge for the sensor. The windshield flickered, authenticate blinking in red. I pressed the badge, heard the click, and climbed in. Everything was intact, but there were fresh logs, attempts to jumpstart unauthorized commands. I keyed in the override, set it to safe mode, and the panic lights dimmed. We spent the morning gathering statements. Mendes told me the DOD would be pressing charges against Karen, probably Ray, though his panic might spare him. By midday, Echo Wolf was back in my driveway now, flanked by unmarked sedans. Until the investigation's closed, don't even breathe near this truck, Mendes warned, smirking. And brace yourself, this won't stay quiet. I had no clue how right he was. By 4:00 p.m., news vans rolled in. Someone had leaked everything. The local Facebook group posted photos. HOA president triggers military invasion over ugly truck. It sounded fake, but the pictures were real. Karen wasn't taking it lying down. She marched across the street decked out in full makeup and a Blazer rulebook in hand. "You're a threat to safety. The HOA has rights," she screeched, waving her phone. The agents told her to step back and flashed a federal document. "This supersedes your HOA," one of them said flatly. Karen's hand trembled as she turned and stormed home. That night, the board met without me. Panic had set in. Stuart, the oldest member, left an apology note on my porch swearing he'd been misled. Within hours, the board was scrambling to avoid the fallout, but the real shock hit the next morning, a call from Major Monroe, the Echo Wolf project lead. "We're escalating to formal security breach. Congressional briefings have started. Your HOA is about to be on every oversight committee's radar." My jaw dropped. Imagine all this because someone didn't like a truck's paint job. The neighborhood shifted overnight. Where 2 sedans had parked now, there was a full surveillance van, satellite dish and all. Folks slowed as they walked dogs past my house, pretending to be on the phone, sneaking glances. Someone flew a drone. It got grounded by an agent in a suit who confiscated it in total silence. For once, Karen vanished. I tried to stay normal, mowing the lawn, painting the mailbox. But Echo Wolf just sat there, locked down, unmovable, watched around the clock. The DOD wasn't just investigating the truck, they were auditing the whole HOA. Turns out Karen's little fiefdom was built on sand. Board members admitted she bullied them into silence. Cindy, the newest, told me Karen manipulated votes, falsified minutes, ran security cameras from her own house like her own little spy ring. Federal investigators started digging through financials, missing funds, unauthorized renovations, and a pattern of paying that same tow company to remove vehicles she didn't like, whether they broke rules or not. It all came crashing down the day agents raided Karen's place. No sirens, just professionals walking out with laptops, files, and Karen herself shrieking about my rights. The footage went viral overnight. Neighbors lined up to share their own Karen stories. Garden gnome violations, aggressive tulip growth, and threats over Halloween decorations. The board collapsed. 3 members resigned in 48 hours. Cindy organized an emergency vote on my front lawn with almost 40 people showing up. Someone nominated me for the board. I declined, but offered to help from the sidelines. The biggest twist, DOD decided to keep Echo Wolf right where it was, using the neighborhood as a controlled test zone for urban resilience. Karen's crusade turned our block into a federal experiment. Cindy laughed until she cried when I told her. One night, Karen reappeared, her swagger, gone eyes hollow. She walked to her mailbox, glanced at me, and shuffled inside. The next week, she lost her presidency by a landslide vote, her own rules used against her, kicked out with no hope of return. That night, she cracked. Screaming, smashing flower pots, hurling her infamous clipboard into the street, blaming me for everything, her dog barking like he didn't even recognize her. Agents just stood by, stone-faced. By morning, Karen was gone, moving van loaded up, no goodbyes. She'd run off to her sister's, the federal case still open, and the only trace left was her dying topiary and that crooked welcome sign. With her gone, the whole neighborhood breathed easier. The board apologized, started reimbursing fines, and rebuilt trust with actual transparency. Echo Wolf, once hated, became a local legend. Kids pointed, parents nodded, and everyone acted like they'd just woken up from a bad dream. Sure, the feds still kept an eye on things, but the mood had changed. No more fear, no more tyranny. And through it all, that truck sat silent. Not just a prototype, but a monument to what happens when unchecked authority meets accountability. The story went national news features, memes, even t-shirts. Free Echo Wolf. Karen became a cautionary tale for every HOA in America. The fallout was real. She faced charges for both the illegal tow and for using HOA money to fund her private projects. In the end, what started as one woman's power trip turned into the spark for real change. Neighbors reconnected, the rules got rewritten, and people started looking out for each other again. The right side won this time, not with fists or threats, but with sunlight exposure and a little help from a stubborn old truck that refused to back down. So what do you think? Where's the line between order and overreach, community and control? Have you seen this kind of petty tyranny before, or maybe stood up to it? Share your take in the comments, because sometimes the only way to fix what's broken is to drag it into the light and let everyone see it for what it really is.